Hello, Collateral Gaming listeners. Chazzle Dazzle here from the Trial by Error Variety Show podcast. I just wanted to take a few seconds to invite you guys over to what we do. No, it's not video games, but we do invite really awesome and unique bands from all over the world. We dig deep into their souls and find really cool stories to tell you, and there's tons of music every week, so subscribe to us wherever you subscribe to your podcast. We look forward to having you.
I'm Ashley Chancellor.
And I'm Zachary Gio.
We are Collateral Gaming. Welcome to Collateral Gaming, the only video game podcast that matters, where we focus on good games, bad games, and everything else in between in the world of gaming. We are podcasting straight from somewhere in South Texas and Georgia.
Yeah, you got to bring in the Georgia love.
Gotta bring in the Georgia love. And yes, my friends, we are a 420 friendly podcast, so whatever you have, smoke it if you've got it.
I had to throw in the little indubitably there. I don't know why, but for some reason I have just been saying that all week. And just instead of indubitably, because that's my favorite line from The Office. But indubitably, you could just go forever.
That's where I got it from. You rubbed it off on me. I just caught myself saying indubitably right before you called me, bro. And I was like, who's been saying that? It's Zach.
Indubitably. It's indubitable me. It was terrible. Dude,
Alrighty.
I'm excited for what we're talking about today.
Hell yeah, dude. We've got a really exciting game to talk about, and that is Resident Evil Village, or as some may call it, Resident Evil 8.
It is the same thing.
It's the same thing.
Either way, it's a hell of a game.
Yep, the sequel to Resident Evil 7, and it just came out like last week, and we're recording a spoiler-free review on it, so rest assured, if you haven't played the game, it's okay. That's what we're here to talk about, just first impressions, and, let's just get right into it, man. What did you think?
Dude, okay, so first impressions, because I haven't beaten it yet. I have not beaten it yet. You guys know me, I'm a strict COD gamer. That's how it goes. But, I love it. Okay, Resident Evil is a really, really amazing series, and I didn't get into it until Biohazard came out. But Biohazard was such an ingenious and creative game that was horrifying, especially the first time you go through it. Man, good lord. That whole family is terrifying, especially the scene where they're just eating body parts around the table, and he, forces you to eat, and when you don't want to, he, stabs your mouth, and it's just intense. It's intensity, and it's awe and intensity. That's the best way I can describe it. From the first moment I launched both titles, especially Resident Evil Village. Resident Evil Village is probably in my top 5 story games of all time so far. I'm loving it so much. Castle Dimitrescu is just... If I said that right. Did I say that right? Is it Castle Dimitrescu?
You know, it's French, so I'm not really clear, but when I hear someone who is speaking it correctly pronounce it, it kind of sounds like Dimitrescu. But, if you're just saying it the American way, you can say Dimitrescu.
Yeah, Dimitrescu, or Dimitrescu, as Markiplier so beautifully puts it.
Yeah, man. I don't have a lot of experience with the Resident Evil franchise yet. I also started with Resident Evil 7 Biohazard, and I was floored away. I mean, this was basically the first Resident Evil game I really dove into. I mean, I played a little bit of Resident Evil 4 to kind of try it out. Wasn't really too big into it because the whole control system is just really difficult to even really learn, but Resident Evil 7 gripped me right away because it's got all the smoothness of a modern game, and it also just completely excels at building atmosphere, and Resident Evil Village just completely follows suit. It's very similar.
God.
You're going to hear us talk about both because it is the direct sequel to Biohazard.
Yeah, I mean, the main character's the same. I mean, you got Ethan Winters back and better than ever, man.
Yeah.
Well, for a brief time.
and the general feel of the game is the same. They kind of wanted to move away from action, and they wanted to focus more on on survival horror, going back to its roots and reimagining the series for the first time in first person, which really just immerses you into the environment. It makes you genuinely terrified to go on because there's something stalking you always, whether it's the bakers or Lady Dimitrescu or some fucking fetus shit, and I'm not going to get more into it than that.
Oh my god, dude.
And big titty goth ladies, yes. Tall vampire lady. I am terrified and turned on at the same time whenever she comes around.
Dude, when she is like slowly approaching you, you want to just stand there and watch her and say, "Hi, yes."
Yeah. Let me
hi.
motorboat.
Oh my god.
But if she kills you, she decapitates you. So, and it is genuinely terrifying. I mean, I remember just walking around Castle Dimitrescu, and at any moment, it seems she could pop out at you, and she'll chase you. And there's only so many spaces that are safe from her. I mean, she'll chase you across the castle, and she doesn't move particularly fast. Again, it's very similar to the way the bakers kind of stalk you in the previous game, or a lot of people have compared it to Mr. X in Resident Evil 2, I believe, in its remake.
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly.
Yeah. And so she's just kind of this presence that's always there and stalking you throughout your time. Well, at least during the Castle Dimitrescu part, which honestly actually isn't as big of the game as we would have been led to believe. I will say that much. I mean, Lady Dimitrescu was hyped up by the internet, and it turns out she just occupies one space of the game. But I will say the Castle Dimitrescu section does feel like the most fleshed out part of the story. I really feel like it's where the most attention was put into the game itself, and it really shows. I mean, just the level of detail in the castle, how ornate it is, and it looks incredible.
Oh my god, dude. Every corner of that castle is just... Well, except for the one. And those are like the vampire birds on the top. I guess for some reason they just didn't do a very good job of, keeping it compatible with how the rest of the game is flowing.
Okay.
And there's just, when you're...
On the rooftops.
Yeah, which mask is up there? Is it the mask of... it's not the mask of pleasure. It's not the mask of...
It's Mask of Sorrow, maybe?
Mask of Sorrow. That feels correct.
Yeah, because joy and pleasure and the other one are down on the floor.
Yeah. Oh, dude. All the masks are so, like... I love just how extensive they make the journeys for the mask, and then, like, one of the masks you find very quickly, and it's just like, oh, okay, cool, this is here. And I think that was the Mask of Sorrow?
Yeah.
That you find super quick?
Yeah, it's like right there on the rooftops, and you head up there, and it's just there, and then you sort of zip line down. And that's really kind of the major progression of it, because you're collecting the mask, you're facing Lady D, and you're facing her daughters, Cassandra, Bella, and Daniela. So there's a point in the game where they can actually gang up on you, and you can get caught by the duo.
Oh yeah, but if you're smart, you'll take them out one at a time, and we're not going to tell you how.
We're not going to tell you how, but yeah, that's a match.
Because it's hard, and I couldn't figure it out at first. But then I thought back to something that happens in the game, and I was just like, oh, okay, cool. I can do this.
Yeah. And part of what makes them and Lady Dimitrescu so terrifying is that there's almost nothing you can do when they attack you, especially Lady D. I mean, she is invulnerable. She will shrug off all weaponry like it's nothing. There's no slowing her down. There is no stunning her. She is just constantly moving towards you. And the game gives you enough time to get away from her. But it's just, it does make the experience legitimately scary. Like, I was waiting for her to pop out and see me. And then the music starts playing, and it could be her, or it could just be an enemy. You're not sure, but you hear the creepy music come on, and you're like, shit, let me crawl back into my hole.
Yep, dude, you have to move around the castle very quickly. Very quickly. There is one place where you can, like, purchase items and stuff, but she won't follow you in there. So there's several places like that, but I'm not going to talk about that because you guys need to figure it out. Have fun.
Yeah, I guess we won't say too much about it, but I mean the merchant in this game is a very very fun and interesting new character.
Absolutely.
I enjoy him quite a bit. So in fact, there's a lot of really 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 interesting characters in here. I mean, Lady Dimitrescu, as it stands, is just is a very compelling character because I mean she's the villain, but there's also all of this lore surrounding her, and she's not the only one. She's one of four major characters in the game who are going to be your basic targets underneath an overarching antagonist. And I don't want to say more about who those are, but go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna give like a tiny little snippet.
Yeah, go for it.
Just a tiny little snippet. I will tell you, if you're a fan of Breaking Bad, you will love the characters that you're gonna meet. Primarily the antagonists, but still, you're gonna absolutely love them. And I think, Ash, you'll know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking
Sorry, I had to clear my throat. Yep.
So I beat the game, and especially late in the game, there are a lot of really cool cinematic moments, boss fights that are just awe-inspiring, and on top of that, the just right, I think at the end they just slap revelation after revelation after revelation on you, and it is crazy, and it all sort of adds together, and it makes sense, and it ties loose ends together, even picking up the pieces that Resident Evil 7 left behind.
Oh yeah, that dude. Ooh, bro, I cannot wait to get to the end of this game, man. Resident Evil 7 is one of my favorite games of all time. That game is just amazing. And I didn't really play Resident Evil before Biohazard came out, but I love first-person horror games. There's just something about the first-person element that just deepens the immersion, and you just get sucked in, and it's horrifying, but at the same time, you don't want to look away.
Yeah, like a PT, right? You know, that's a game.
Oh my god.
That's what drove, kind of made me finally get into survival horror games because, or horror games in general, because, I mean, just having this experience and being able to put yourself in the character's shoes and having to push yourself forward, I mean, you just have this intimate relationship with the game, and Resident Evil 8 embodies that. Was the whole game scary? Not as much, but there are definitely some spoopy parts. In particular, one of my favorite parts in the game is actually the second area that you go to after House Dimitrescu. And I really enjoy it without getting into it too much, but I really enjoyed it because it's a section of the game that doesn't actually feature any combat. It's all puzzle based and exploration based, and it actually fully hones in. For a section of the game, you actually don't have your weapons. I will tell you that much. And so it really deepens the experience and fully immerses you, and you legitimately don't know what to look forward to, and shit is just tripping out. You are tripping balls, man.
Absolutely, dude. Oh my god. I'm gonna hop back on it after we finish recording, dude. I'm getting excited just talking about this, man. This game is so good. God.
Yeah.
Bro, I will say, compared to Resident Evil 7, the combat in Resident Evil 8 feels a lot smoother. Like, they took a lot of the same mechanics that you could do as Ethan in Resident Evil 7, and you do the same thing in Resident Evil 8. It's like they smoothed it out, though. They increased the fluidity of everything that Ethan does. The combat is a lot more, I guess, realistic in the fact that you have to block or you're done after like 2 hits, because your body can't take that kind of damage. But let's be honest. Ethan is still a bit of a superhuman. Every video game protagonist is a superhuman to be able to take shots and then just heal and keep going. But I have a theory about that, which we won't get into.
Yeah. I will say that it's addressed. And I think that was one of the things with Biohazard that maybe wasn't as clear was, this seems a little unrealistic. How is he taking this much damage? How is he just tanking this and surviving? And I think this game answers a lot of those questions. But ultimately, I agree with you. The combat is a lot better handled in this game. It just feels like everything is improved. It felt responsive, and I was playing this on PS4, so this isn't even the really definitive edition of the game. I'm willing to bet that the game runs a lot more smoothly on the next generation. The load times are pretty hefty in the on the PS4 at least, but I want to say that it's done for a reason because they don't want you to experience any interruptions during the parts that matter. So they just
Exactly.
preload everything before the stage. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So like Resident Evil 7, it's very linear. You are going to go from one place to another, and just so you aren't, just so you're not surprised by this and it doesn't ruin your experience, there are areas that you won't be able to come back to. I recommend that before you finish up Castle Dimitrescu, you do, if you're a completionist, you do everything that there is to do there, because you won't be coming back once you complete the overall objective.
Yeah, I'll try to find. I think there's one daughter left, and then I'll have to deal with Lady Dimitrescu. So I'll have plenty of time to look around and try to gather everything I can. And I'm also trying to find enough lei to purchase most of the stuff in the store so that I can just be completely decked out for when I do get to that section where I get my weapons back.
It's
and
worth
I'm able
it.
to use those.
It's
Yeah,
worth
absolutely.
it.
I mean, it's always worth it to fully. I mean, one, game developers take their time creating masterpieces such as this, and it's kind of an insult to them if you don't take the time and explore. Because if you've got the nuts to just get on your computer or console, whatever you're playing this on, and explore this world, explore it. Find everything you can. Get good enough to be able to defend yourself if you have to and get away, but explore. Because Castle Dimitrescu is probably one of the most detailed and beautiful settings in a video game today. And that's me being a massive fan of Breath of the Wild. There I go. I incorporated it again. I told you I'd do that. But Resident Evil's atmosphere is not only chilling and terrifying, but it's just beautifully done. And you can't really get much better than that when the developers take the time to develop something as wonderful as this. Because, I mean, Resident Evil 7 came out 4 years ago. It took them 4 years, maybe more. They may have already started working on this before they released Biohazard. It takes them a long time to get this down pat, and it takes us like maybe a week or two to beat the game.
Yeah.
Take the time to explore.
It's a good 10 hours or so of gameplay time from start to finish. And that's even accounting for some exploration and doing side quests and leveling up yourself up, which, like I said, is worth it. You spend the time to explore the environment and spend your in-game currency, you're actually going to be rewarded, and the game is going to be easier to get through for you. Especially late in the game when resource management becomes more important. And yeah. Castle Dimitrescu actually loads you with a lot of resources. You never really run out there. I didn't foresee that being a problem. Later in the game, I did start. So that resource management actually starts in the beginning. Start conserving and start saving up for. I will say inventory management in this game I enjoy a lot more than in Biohazard. And it's it's the very traditional Resident Evil formula. It is similar to Resident Evil 4. I've heard a lot of people say, but I do see it, the inventory management system as being basically that of 7, except all of your craftables and all of your key items and treasures actually don't count towards your inventory space, which is a breath of fresh air, because now, yes, you do have to manage your inventory and you have to be careful not to overload it, or, you won't have room to have all of the items and weapons that you need, but at the same time, you don't have to worry about not being able to pick up an item for key progression, or picking up things that will enable you to progress forward, like health and ammo. The resources that you use to craft those actually don't count towards your inventory space, which is nice because this game does not have a storage chest, unlike its predecessor. Everything that's in the inventory, you either have to sell or drop if you don't have space. Thankfully, they let you rotate. They let you really just Tetris it out, and there's an element of strategy that's involved in that. And you can also upgrade your inventory. So if you're buying the inventory upgrades as soon as they become available, you shouldn't have a problem. But it was cool to have that always be a concern, but never an obstacle towards progression.
Yeah, absolutely. I think item management in any game that you're playing is important. I mean, especially like it's baby stuff when you're talking about Zelda. Every Zelda game that's come out, except for Breath of the Wild, you don't really have to worry about item management. You can usually get health easily or ammo because enemies will drop it. But in Breath of the Wild, that's when the series introduced massive, conservation techniques. Like, you had to be wary of how many arrows you had and the different types, like fire arrows, ice arrows, bomb arrows especially. So when they took away the supply chest in Resident Evil 8, I was kind of disappointed. But at the same time, I liked how that stuff not that stuff, sorry. Like, stuff to craft doesn't count towards your inventory space.
Yeah.
Resident Evil 7 did an okay job of it, but this is, you're right. I couldn't have said it any better myself, a breath of fresh air. You know, it's just easier when you have a better way to manage your inventory and stuff. And they kind of balanced it out by taking away the supply chest, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I thought it was a good balance, equivalent exchange going on there. And there's a lot more strategy that's implemented in this game. I mean, even in the village, you've got sections of the game where you can barricade yourself inside of a house and have a wave of enemies come at you. And sometimes that's critical to surviving.
Well, I mean, absolutely. 100%.
Yeah, those are cool sections of the game. I love the ability to barricade yourself in and just kind of stake out. And I think it added a lot of depth to the gameplay, and that there is more freedom and more ways that you can go about situations. And
it also... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go for it.
It also kind of instills that reassurance in the player that the antagonist that they are going up against is not all powerful. You know, you can actually barricade them. You can actually hurt them. I won't say anything more than that. But they're not invincible. You can take them down. And as Ethan Winters, you find creative and kind of awesome ways of taking out your opponents. And that's one of my favorite things about Resident Evil is the combat, you know, being able to... It's not like Outlast, where you couldn't fight at all. You had to run, and you just had to figure things out without being able to fight. Ethan kicks ass, man.
Yeah.
I love Ethan Winters. He's probably one of my favorite protagonists in video games. Like, I love him. Who's the voice actor that plays Ethan Winters?
That's a good question. I'm going to have to look it up. But
I'm going to look it up. No, my phone's on the bed. I'm not going to get up and go there.
Now, Ethan Winters is actually a more fleshed out character here. In Resident Evil 7, I remember, I mean, kind of the point of putting it in first person and not having him speak a lot was so that the player could embody themselves. But, you know, he does have a life. He does have a daughter. You know, he does have a wife in this game. So, and there, you know, he's got Mia in the first game as well. So you have some aspects of his personality, and I like how Resident Evil 8 really delves a little bit more into that, and fleshes him out as a character, and gives him a little bit more personality.
And you can tell by the way that Resident Evil 7 plays that they're not just setting up for a one-and-done title. They were setting up for this game, and this game executes it beautifully. Dude, the beginning of the game blew my mind. The opening cutscene.
Yes!
Threw me for a loop, and I was like, this is going to be an amazing game.
You're like, shit, what? The betrayal,
Yep.
And by the way, it's Todd Soley. That's the voice, the English voice of Ethan.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I love a lot of the voice work that's done in this game. The performances are really, really, really incredible. The Duke, Lady Dimitrescu, and Heisenberg.
Haha. Well, that's it, guys. He did it.
Oh, that's
I
okay.
gave you the hint earlier.
That's
earlier in the
okay.
podcast.
It's just the name of a character.
Oh, I know.
I'm not going to say anything about it.
I know. I was just connecting the dots from what I said earlier to what you just said.
I know.
I was like, if you're a Breaking Bad fan, say my name.
My name.
But yeah,
my
no.
name.
That's one thing that I really... God, I love this game. It's so good. But the voice acting is spot on, dude. It's like you're watching a well-done movie, not like a Michael Bay film or something like that. I'm talking about... Sorry. I'm talking about something like Christopher Nolan, you know?
Yeah.
Or something good. You know, not Transformers, something like Tenet, where the actors actually care about the job that they're doing. Shots fired, Shia LaBeouf. Just do it. Come at me, bro.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I love you.
It's kind of like a Nolan film, you know? It is very...
A terrifying Nolan film.
Yeah. It is very cinematic. Quite a bit more cinematic, I think, than before. And There is actually a little heavier emphasis on combat, and yet there are segments of the game that are not focused on that at all. So it balances itself out. But I definitely think there are a few more combat-heavy sections, especially toward the end of the game. Yeah, it really starts to kind of deal these waves of enemies, and you really have to strategize and plan. It's all done very smartly, and then the sections of the game that are not combat focused are just as intense somehow. Just exploring and just atmosphere. That's what blew me away. Is this game knows how to build atmosphere.
Absolutely.
And I love, the fog when you're going about the village, and some of the locations like Castle Dimitrescu, which is easy to get lost in.
Yep. And dude, honestly, let's be real here. When you first walk up and you see Castle Dimitrescu, my jaw dropped. I was like, this place is massive.
Yeah.
It is insane, and it was just beautiful. I mean, of course it's eerie and foggy and snowy, but still, this place is it reminded me like of a fallen Disney castle.
Yeah. It's huge, and you really scour every inch of it. There's several levels. It's a huge environment to explore, but at the same time implement a sense of claustrophobia because you're stuck in there with someone who will kill you if she gets close to you. The few someones.
Absolutely.
Who could come out at any moment. Did you play the Resident Evil demo that came out, the Maiden demo, or did you see any of that?
No, actually.
It's like the Resident Evil 7 was it Beginning Hour? It's like the Resident Evil 7 demo where it's a section of the game's map, but it's another character's story that takes place before the main story. So it's in, parts of Castle Dimitrescu, and you are playing a maiden. And I really like how the demo actually just portrayed the absolute invulnerability of these characters. Very similar to when Ethan first comes in, because the second you come into the castle and you start exploring, not too long after that you get caught and you get strung up, and you are suddenly aware that there are 4 women who are out for your blood and could come around the corner at any time.
Dude, that's what I'm saying. The cinematography in this game is just crazy, because when that cutscene happens, it's like Lord of the Flies, bro. It's ridiculous. Yeah. I hope you caught that reference, Ash.
Yes. Oh my God.
Okay, good. Thank you.
That's bad. What was I gonna say? I had something in mind and I forgot it.
Probably something to do with the game.
Something to do with Resident Evil 8. Anyway.
Wait, that's what we're talking about? I'm just kidding. Thought we were talking about getting over it with Bennett Foddy.
Hey, I wouldn't mind talking about that either.
Hey, that's a good game, dude. I'm on my 20th run, trying to beat it. Get that golden pot. All right, this is not... Okay, Resident Evil.
Any weapons that you're partial to in this game?
Let's see. I really like the 12 gauge.
Yeah.
12 gauges. I don't know the names of the weapons. I didn't memorize them. I just use them. Knife. I use the knife a lot, especially on like the grunt zombies, the undead, whatever those things are.
Yeah.
But I kill those with the knife unless they're just a lot of them, and then I'll just hit them with a shotgun blast, maybe a couple pistol shots. But I try to aim for the head. But there's a pistol on the game that resembles. I don't know how much Black Ops 1 you played, but if you're like me, you probably played a lot because that game was lit. But there was a pistol on there called the CZ75 or C275 or whatever it was called. I don't remember. But there's a pistol on Resident Evil 8 that resembles that gun, and it's like a 3-shot kill to the head on most of those smaller creatures.
Yeah.
That is my favorite weapon in the game. Either that or the sniper rifle or the long rifle that you get. It's like right before actually the first time you go up on the roof.
Yeah, the sniper rifle, and I'm usually a sniper rifle and shotgun kind of guy. I was definitely a shotty guy in this game. That was
you have to be
pretty much my go-to weapon that was in my hands. If I had ammo for it, I was shooting shells out at everything because you could put an enemy on its feet. And as far as resource management goes, I mean, what a gun can do in 3 to 5 shots, a shotgun can do in 1 or 2.
1 or 2. You have to hit them in the face if you're going to kill them with the shotgun in one hit. Otherwise, they're just going to fall down on the ground and then slowly get back up.
And that's generally what I did. I actually focused my upgrades on the weapons that that I use the most. And so I tried to really, and that's what's good about this game, because if you're not going for completion, you're not going to get every upgrade that's available for every weapon. And hey, that's what second playthroughs are for. That's what New Game Plus is for. Again, this is a game that has a huge replayability value, like a Resident Evil game should. You may find yourself playing it over and over and over, but yeah, if you're not going for completion, you're not collecting everything, resources are limited. And so you're going to want to focus on the weapons that are most useful for you. And that's what you're going to want to craft. Hey, I've got a choice between crafting some handgun ammo or crafting some shotgun ammo. What am I going to use? Handgun because it's, kind of my more basic weapon, and if I don't have anything, I'd rather have that. Or shotgun because it's just better resource management, and I can take care of more enemies that way. You got to think about it. And sometimes towards the end of the game, I had myself relying on nothing but sniper bullets and just having the enemies close up with sniper bullets because that's all I have left.
That's rough.
Yeah, but it's effective.
Well, you made
still.
it through. You made it through, obviously.
I made it through.
What was your opinion about the end of the game? You said something about how I haven't been there yet and I haven't seen it. So you said you really liked it.
It's tear-jerking.
Actually, you texted me earlier and you said, "Yeah, dude, I almost cried."
Yeah. No. I almost cried at the end. It is actually tear-jerking. So get ready for an emotional ending of the game. I mean, this is a game that focuses on family and on Ethan's relationship with his daughter Rosemary, who he's trying to save, and Mia, who, well, we'll leave that surprise for y'all. And there are plenty of surprises.
Yeah, she's actually a man. Just kidding. Her name's actually Miller.
Miller? All right.
She works at the local brewery. Yeah. I'm sorry. It's a bad joke. Oh, man. Oh. Well, how many times do you think you'll play through this game?
How many times? I could see myself playing at least another 1 or 2 playthroughs easily. If I didn't have other games that I was going to move on to, like if we didn't have the podcast, I could probably play through this game a few times and get everything that this game has to give. Because, whenever you replay the game, of course, you can purchase weapons that aren't available in the story, and you can get unlimited ammo. And so it does make replaying the game and really finding everything that this game has to offer worth it.
Yeah, it basically eliminates the challenge for you. It lets you go ape crap and 100% the game.
Because you've earned it. They're cheats, but they're not cheats because you earned them.
Yeah, they're cheats that are basically like, it's like getting the test answers after you take the test.
Yeah, exactly. You've earned it. You've played through the game. And it's not an easy game to get through, but you will get through it fairly quickly because it engages you and it just begs you to play. And I could easily get through most of this game, in a single sitting. It just captivates you and I want to keep playing. But then sometimes, the tension is just too much. And, I'm just like, no, I can't do anymore.
I got to take a break. Yep, you got to take a break. That's how it was when the first time I played Outlast 2, I was playing with a buddy of mine, Jaden. Shout out to you, bud. I don't know where you're at, what you're doing. Much love. But the first time when it came out, he and I were hanging out and we played through it. In one night. We stayed up all night playing that game, and I guarantee you I did not go to sleep for another day.
Yeah. Damn.
That game is messed up, dude. That game is rough. I don't know if you've played the Outlast games, but Outlast 2 is probably the most horrifying experience you can have with a video game. It's just
well,
ruthless.
Maybe it's something we'll talk about. Hint, hint.
Yeah, we should. We definitely should. Well, I mean, this was going to be like a first impression / spoiler-free type thing.
So there's not a lot more to say about it, yeah, without really getting into spoilers. And boy, I would love to do a spoiler episode on this. Maybe a 2-parter with Resident Evil 7 and 8.
Well, I do have one more small question before we may or may not wrap this up. I don't know. I just what do you think I don't know if they explain that, but how did Mia get to the house in the first place?
Get to what house?
With Jack in Resident Evil 7.
Oh, I believe it was her work. But a lot of the game's backstory in both the games, and this game as well, are told through the lore that you find. So you don't get as much of it unless you actually pay attention, collect things in the background. This game is the same way as Biohazard was in that respect.
Yep. Absolutely.
In fact, you get backstories on all of the major characters, the major villains that you're fighting up against. There are actual whole origins and backstories behind them and motivations, which makes the game all the more compelling.
Dude, I'm excited, Ash. I had credit, so I bought it. I got the bundle deluxe and gold edition of Resident Evil 7 and Resident Evil 8 for PC because
shit.
I had the games for PS4, but since I don't play my PS4 anymore, I figured I'd upgrade.
PC Master Race now?
Absolutely, bro. I don't know what took me so long, and it's just, bro, it's been a breathtaking experience having this computer, man. One, doing the podcast is awesome. Working with Zelda Dungeon is just, dude, it's so much better than when I was doing it on my laptop. And just games, man, y'all know me, I'm a COD freak, and Black Ops Cold War. I hated that game. I will publicly state this on the podcast. I hated that game. I despised it. Now it's in my top 4 CODs of all time.
Nice. So they really redeemed themselves with that.
Yes, they did, bro. It's one of the, except for the zombies, it's one of the better Treyarch Call of Duties. The smoothness, the fluidity, the lobbies, it's a good game. It's fun.
Okay.
I highly recommend you hop in and grind with us a little bit, Ash.
Yeah, I definitely will at some point. I was gonna say too, because you were saying that this game actually ran pretty well on your PC, right?
Which one?
Resident Evil Village.
Oh, dude, it's gorgeous. Yeah.
Yeah, so I ran into some difficulties. RE8 actually overheated my PS4 a couple of times. Where like the game, and usually it'll warn you and be like your PS4 is overheating, like turn it off, blah blah blah. But like if you ignore the warning, like later on, like my PS4 would just like shut off completely. And I remember I texted you about that when it happened because I'd almost beat the game and then it happened, but it was okay because it actually did save my progress. So,
God, that's like, oh my God, I was in high school playing Twilight Princess. And there was a thunderstorm happening outside, and I beat City in the Sky. But then when I was saving it, the power went out, and my whole file got deleted.
Okay, now I understand why you hate City in the Sky.
No. That's not why I hate City in the Sky.
I feel like you've got some bias towards it.
No, dude. I don't like City in the Sky because it's just, it feels too long with not enough detail packed in there.
Okay.
And honestly, I mean, okay. So the first part of the dungeon is really awesome, but then it just feels like one long linear path, and I hate it.
Okay.
I do not like linear dungeons at all, unless they're expansive, like within the dungeon. Like I hated Breath of the Wild's dungeons, but it's still one of my favorite games of all time, just because of the exploration and the locations. But dungeons have to be big. We're not even talking about Zelda. What the hell am I getting into? I'm going off on a tangent, dude.
That's valid. But I guess we'll kind of get into our final thoughts here. Start with you, Zach.
Final thought. Right now, as it stands, I give this game a 9.7 out of 10. Atmosphere is ominous and gorgeous, and just the music is intense. Graphics, those don't really matter, but they're still gorgeous. Story, so far, there's a few holes, but I'm sure they'll be filled once I finish my next playthrough of Biohazard, and because I'm gonna start playing it on PC. And once I finish Village, I'm sure all those questions will be answered. But overall, I'm loving it so far. Highly recommend you go get it, and just enjoy it, man. Like we said, we're not going to try to spoil anything for you. Just go enjoy the game. It's so good.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to ditto that because I think the rating that you gave it is pretty spot on because it is a nearly perfect game. For what they set out to do, they 100% accomplished this. This game has my full recommendation. Obviously, if you're a Resident Evil fan, you have to get it. But if you're just a survival horror fan in general, I mean, this game easily gets, put somewhere at the top there. And just video games in general, if you want to get introduced to survival horror, this game and its predecessor are pretty good entryways into that. So this game is honestly a masterpiece, and I would love to see where Capcom goes with the series in the future. I mean, they've really revitalized a franchise that at one point had gotten stale.
Absolutely. And you know what? It makes me hopeful for Metroid. You know, if a studio can let a game or a story be dormant for a long time with no detail, and then just boom, pop out 2 masterpieces in the span of 4 years, it makes my heart hopeful for the future of Nintendo.
Hell yeah. All right. Well, folks, if you enjoyed this episode, stay tuned for our upcoming review of Dead Space. That's going to be our next episode on the podcast. Super excited to talk about it. More survival horror. So, I mean, we're really just on a kick here with that. And I've been enjoying the hell out of the game. And you'll get to hear more about our thoughts on that in the upcoming episode. And also, check out our Patreon. We are coming out with Let's Play video game commentaries. If you're not listening to Collateral Gaming Bonus Round, that's our little off-the-cuff, mostly unedited format that we kind of do on the in-between episodes, and we're having a lot of fun with that because it's very spontaneous, whatever the hell we want to do.
Absolutely, dude. That absolutely.
And if you like this episode, let us know. Leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, feedback on your platform of choice, and stay tuned for upcoming content. Season 3 is far from over, guys. We've got a lot more planned for you, and we're really excited to get into it. And we're already thinking about Season 4, so...
Dude, I cannot wait. Pretty sure I just split my mic there, but it's fine. Woo!
We'll fix it in post. But
yeah, let me turn that down a little bit. But guys, thank you for listening. Thank you so much for tuning in with us and hanging out with us. It's always fun to hang out with Ash and talk about games, especially games as good as these. And we seem to be hitting some bangers, so pretty soon you guys are going to have to deal with us, talking about a crappy game. Because we haven't really talked about too many crappy games. At least I haven't talked about too many crappy games with you, Ash.
We've got one coming up.
Oh, you're talking about Dead Space, right? I'm just kidding. Bad joke.
No, so far it's a good game. I like it. Hey, Bo, you want to come tell our audience about what's upcoming with Collateral Cinema since you're here?
Yeah, sure. Why not? Upcoming next on Collateral Cinema, we are going to do the Nicholas Winding Refn movie Drive. And also on Collateral Cinema Director's Cut right now, we have our Ninja Scroll commentary. Go check that out. We recommend watching the movie along with it for full effect. And also, we'll start winding down the season here with, I think, Star Trek Beyond. We're also going to do Hooper and The Interview. So that's pretty much what's coming up with the final little leg of Collateral Cinema's season. So, yeah.
Hey, you know what?
What?
Oh, what was the movie he said right before Hooper? I do not know why it just... Oh, no, he said Star Trek Beyond.
Yeah, Star Trek Beyond.
I want to be on that episode. I'm going to tell you that right now. I love those movies.
The reboots? Yes, they're so good.
Chris Pine is phenomenal.
Yeah, he does a
Zachary
great job.
Quinto. Oh my God, they're just spectaculoso. Okay, I'm done talking. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks for listening, folks, and stay tuned for our upcoming content on both podcasts. Stay safe, love each other, be kind to each other, and
smoke up.
And smoke it up. Enjoy some Resident Evil, folks, if you haven't already. I'm Ashley Chancellor.
And I am Zachary Gio.
We are Collateral Gaming. We are out.
How do you like the car?
Collateral Cinema. Collateral Cinema is better.
Oh!
Collateral Gaming is a Collateral Media podcast. All music and game clips are owned by their respective creators and are used for educational purposes only. Please don't sue us. We're poor.